Hi, this is Jay Woods of Freedom Capital Markets. Today, I have the great privilege of talking with Ituran CEO and co-founder Eyal Sheratzky. We are going to talk about not only how the company was formed, how it continues to grow, how technology plays a major role in it, and yes, as a market strategist, we're going to talk about the stock a little bit. But right now, I just want to say welcome, Eyal. It is great to have you. Great to talk to you.
Hi, Jay. Thank you to having me today.
Well, I'm very happy to be sitting here with you, Eyal Sheratzky of Ituran, and we get some time to just talk. And I want to just start at the very beginning. You've been doing this for a long time. People don't realize that your story has been evolving and continues to evolve to this day. But I just want to just go back to your roots, how it all started, and then we can talk about the growth from there. So tell me how you started in this business and how it's grown.
So, actually, my father and I had an investigation company that was special in insurance claims. And we had a lot of relationship with insurance companies, and we were very aware of the situation here in Israel of car theft. So, as entrepreneurs, we thought, is there any solution to prevent car theft? And we look for technology first, we look for solution, and we found technology that derived from military applications, and it was converted into civil technology, but the company that developed it didn't really use it for the right needs. Mm-hmm. So after a while, we acquired this technology, and we changed the company. We changed the idea from only technology to a service-oriented company. And that's how we started. And we start offering it to insurance companies in order to reduce their risks, reduce their claims, and the rest is history.
It's amazing how simple it started and then how much you've grown because you talk about technology. It's not just car theft services, obviously, that we're dealing with now. Let's talk about your expansion and the other product services you've gone on to from your grassroots. What are your proudest achievements so far?
Okay, I'm proud of many achievements, but
That's good.
I still insist to talk a little bit about the beginning. The technology that we acquired was a radio frequency technology. We're talking about days that there was no GPS, and also the cellular was only in the beginning. So we can use this technology that, as I said, derived from military needs. We could use it only for stolen vehicle recovery. It was very narrow bandwidth. During the years, of course, we know that the GPS becomes something more common. Also, the technology of the cellular started with GSM, then it's go to GPRS, and then the 4G, and now 5G, allowed for a much wider bandwidth. By having these basics and this platform, we could offer much more services than only stolen vehicle recovery, only location. And riding this wave, we succeed to penetrate much more segments, such as fleet management, such as driver application, like usage-based insurance solution, and many others that we can maybe talk later.
Yeah, I can't wait to. But now you've grown, and I don't think people realize the geographical footprint you have. Last I counted, 17, 18 countries you guys are involved. What's the count up to now?
Okay, so we have more than 27 countries that our technology is there, but I must divide it for two different geographic situations. In 7 countries, which include Israel, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, and Canada, we have our own offices, own operation, with altogether about 3,000 employees. The other 20 countries, in those geographies, such as South Africa, such as in Ukraine, such as in countries in Africa, we sell our solution, which is hardware and know-how, to local operators. So this is two different models, we choose for ourselves the geographies which we thought there is more potential to grow and become larger operations.
One of the things you touched on was technology. You started with military technology to help track down cars, and technology has continued to evolve. What, as a technology company, are you looking at as the next big evolvement to stay on market trends and ahead of market trends? And then as you grow, I notice you're making some pretty interesting investments, and I want to talk about Bring. But so, what is the Bring investment done to help you expand? And as far as a technology company goes, what are the things you're seeing and what are you doing as a company to stay ahead of those market trends?
Again, I would like to divide it for two. Bring story is that when we made our investment in Bring, which is about 8 years ago, the idea of the founders was to provide a last mile solutions for small and mid businesses in order to ship their groceries or restaurant food. During the time, the founders decide to convert it to larger corporates such as Coca-Cola, such as FedEx, and do it including shipment over the air, etc. So we decided that this is not a focus on our market, and we raise money from venture capitals, and we decide to give up acquiring Bring as a whole and to change it to a financial business. So today for us, Bring is a financial asset, which in our balance sheet is zero. And it's very important to mention that the last round that was led by Insight Partners 2 years ago, the valuation was $1 billion. We invested on a valuation of $4 million. So it's a hidden profit generator for the moment that we will be able, at the right time, to liquidate all through IPO or through M&A. Regarding the Ituran technology, it's totally something that we develop by our own. We do it in-house. We have about 100 people of R&D department. And as I said, we today provide kind of a black box that include modules which depend on the customer's needs. And this is why we're always in front of the technology, because in those countries that I mentioned, 7 countries that we are dominant the market and we are the main telematics service provider, we know what is the market trends, we know what is the needs, and we develop it by ourselves, or we automatically looking for a partners that can provide us a complementary module. So by saying this, I think, and I know that we are always in the front of the technology for telematics.
Gotcha. So, what excites you now about the technology landscape? Like the next big opportunities you see? I mean, you continue to make great investments. Where do you think the opportunities are? And then we can talk about markets because I know there are a lot of markets that you want to expand in, and I want to talk about some of those. But let's focus on the technology aspect before we go back to the geographical footprint.
So in terms of technology, as I said, we are not stopping. So even now when we are talking, people are developing the next application. But since we work in a very different geographies, each geographies has different needs. So of course, we're talking about more and more integrating AI, more and more using big data for expanding our services, not only to specific companies or specific drivers, but also for other needs, as I said, malls, authorities, municipal people that need to know where in the roads there is problems. We can provide it. So all this is a part of the future technology. And of course, we always work on making our current technology better, more accurate, more secure, etc. This is regarding technology itself.
All right. And you mentioned a key word that I want to talk about now is your partnerships. I don't think people realize some of the big partners you have. I mean, we're talking GM, Nissan, Porsche. These are big household names, global names. What are some of the highlights of those partnerships? I would love to know, and I'm sure your audience would love to know.
Okay, so I will start with those that everybody already can know, which we already
Of
publish it.
course.
And we are talking, as you mentioned, at companies from the car industry. We're talking about international strong names, as you mentioned, such as Nissan Japan, General Motors United States. And I think that this is a very respectful achievement because those players care for the brand that they're attached to their brands. And we are there, telematics providers in Latin America, each one in different countries, but Mexico or Brazil or Ecuador or Colombia, for example. And the partnership means that they use our hardware and they install it in their plants. And when the dealers sell the car with our units, then the car buyer can enjoy our services. And this is something that we do for more than a decade, by the way. Mm-hmm. And we also have another solution because sometimes the cars are coming from other plants and they have their own hardware or own computer. So the nice thing is that we know how to integrate our services and our servers to those car manufacturers and only provide the services. I want to remind something. Mm-hmm. Ituran, most important thing is the recurring revenues. We are looking for providing the services. Sometimes we need to install our technology as a tool to get this recurring revenue. Sometimes we use the car manufacturer's hardware. We are okay with it. Yeah. And by the way, I want to add, we have other good names of partnerships. We have insurance companies, we have international banks, and we have enough time. I can add colors on this.
Well, you're leading me right to my next question, but I wanted to focus on one company because it's U.S. based. When you integrate with existing systems like OnStar at GM, how do you collaborate with them to integrate that automotive technology and get that recurring revenue? What is that process like when you're dealing with someone like a General Motors?
No, first of all, there is a long validation of our technology. Second, there is a lot of work done by our client, the car manufacturer, to see if it's fit their marketing and their customers' needs. Once they decide they need this solution, so then of course it's a B2B and we are kind of a white label service provider and hardware provider, and we do everything together, and in the end of the day they pay for it and they decide how long is the free trial they provide to their customers. And as I said, sometimes they decide to use different technology because they have specific models that they already installed, even if it's historically. But still, since we are very dominant in the service side in Latin America, they need a partner to provide these services. And this is us. This is how it works.
Speaking of partners in Latin America, you have a good relationship with Santander. How is that established and what has that relationship brought to you since you guys have partnered up?
So sometimes, at times, you have to think out of your box. During COVID, there was not a lot of car sales. So banks that provide loans to cars looks how they can provide loans for second-hand cars. And when this happens, sometimes the customers are more subprime customers. So they need something to secure their collateral. We thought about it, and we went to Santander Bank in Brazil, and we said, look, you can expand your customer base by going to other segments of car buyers, second-hand cars, low-cost cars. We can provide you a solution that if those customers get into kind of some dispute, we will provide you collateral. They liked it. And this is how it started. And after almost a year of validation, Santander Brazil signed with us a contract, very impressive one, with hundreds of thousands of their cars, of the cars that they loan money for. They use our technology, and we are now 2 years after, and both sides are very satisfied with this contract. And I believe and hope that we will renew this relationship
Yeah, and
soon.
I love it. And the relationships you have are with global brands. So that's amazing. But I wanted to touch on one other thing, insurance. How have you worked with insurance companies? Because the insurance industry has changed and you started off with car theft, but it's just more than car theft recovery. What are the other things you work on the insurance companies with through your technology?
Recently, we offered a solution based on our technology, which is called UBI, usage based insurance. We know that if I can evaluate the risk of each driver, I can be more customized with my premium.
Yep.
So, this is something that our technology knows to do. We know to sell this customer is driving well, this one is risky, and the basic situation, basic information is how many kilometers or miles this driver drive along the months or the year. Because as much as you drive more, you have more risk. So insurance companies in Israel, like it, they adapted our technology. Major portion of the insurance companies in Israel use our solution and they build a specific insurance policy, they brand it, they advertise it, and it's a B2B.
Yep.
We provide them this data and they pay us monthly recurring revenues per insurer.
Well, the
And of
data
course, we
data
intend
is the
to,
most important information that you can get, and for you to provide that to those insurance companies is invaluable because that will basically guide them how they can change their premiums to certain customers based on their driving habits, based on what you give them from your information. So I wanted to make sure I didn't gloss over that. I thought that was an important part. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that geographical footprint that you have because your relationships clearly in South America are fantastic. Israel thriving. What about a market like India, which is the biggest growing population in the world? I don't know if you've ever driven in India. They could probably use some car insurance. It's crazy. Is that a market that you see yourself expanding into?
India is our major future geography. And when you ask this question, I must say that we are already few years putting the seeds in India. We have a joint venture with a
Mhm.
local big integrator called Lumax, which has a strong appearance in each plant in India, because most of the car manufacturers produce their cars in India. It's the largest market in the world. So India is still premature in terms of the telematics, but we didn't want to give up for this market because it's premature. We said we will educate the market. So for the last years, we actually educated market. We marketed, we sat with car manufacturers, we sat with big fleets, and I think, or I'm expecting that in the next 3 to 5 years from now, we will reaping the fruits, and we're talking about 1.5 billion people. We're talking about hundreds of millions of cars. We're talking about growing companies, third world, but growing company. So once this market will be more mature, I have no doubt that we will dominate the telematics market. We are the first there. We have a strong partnership with Lumax, and we are already 3 years putting the seeds. So no doubt, India, for the longer term, is the next geography. Meanwhile, we will continue to expand our businesses in Latin America because we have a typical synergy there because we are there already.
That's amazing. Now, my role is a market strategist and I watch the stock market. I watch stocks all day long. And I know Ituran stock has been one of the best kept secrets on the dividend playing side for years. Now, year to date we're flat, but it's slow and steady. As someone that watches stocks, you don't create volatility, you don't generate that buzz at this point in time. Who knows as we continue to expand. But I want to ask you about the IPO process and as a publicly traded company, has that changed how you look at things or you continue just to focus on your day-to-day job and know that when you do a good job, the stock will continue to do well itself?
We can control only on our business and we do our day by day job. And this we always want to do the best because it depends on us. The
Mhm.
stock market is not depending on us. Of course, We are main shareholders, my family, so we are sharing the interest with the company and with our managerial responsibility in the company. Second is that we do as much as we can to transmit information to investors. Of course, always we want the share to be higher and highest because we want our shareholders to be satisfied. It's not depend on us, but I think that since the IPO, we did very well. Our IPO was on $13. We recently about $27. We pay the dividends. If you add the dividends of almost 15 years, which is close to $400 million, this is part of the value of Ituran. So
Yeah.
it's additional $400 million that our shareholders enjoy during this time.
Yeah,
So
for those that don't know, it does pay a dividend that's just under 6%, and it's been a steady grower over time. And I don't want to jinx things, but the stock has traded higher after earnings 17 consecutive quarters. I watch these patterns all the time, and it's rare to see consistent performance. But like I said, it's slow and steady, and I think that says a lot to how your team works. You've been very methodical going and expanding into different markets. Your relationships have been very particular, very solid. And fast forward 5 years from now, and I know it's hard to predict because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. That's the toughest thing about the stock market. The daily volatility we don't want to worry about, but we worry about that long term trajectory. We're looking to expand through acquisition, possibly. We are investing in companies like Bring and then expanding geographically. Do you continue to see that grow at a slow and steady pace, or do you want to try to get more aggressive at any point in time? How do you look at those opportunities?
in 2018, we did an acquisition of Road Truck. Today, it's a part of Ituran. It's a business of OEM in Ecuador, Colombia, and Mexico. When we did this acquisition, of course, we support the growth of Ituran. And during 2018, 2019, before COVID, we show after this acquisition a much more aggressive growth. We are looking very hard on another acquisition. Of course, as the size of Ituran with 2.3 million subscribers that provide recurring revenues, it's very difficult to show double-digit growth because it's a big ship. So this is the size that we have to think and to look for more acquisitions. So we look for it, but we have to know that we will not do acquisition just to say that we did an acquisition, because after making acquisition, you have to integrate it to your business, you have to create synergy, you have to see that the deal is for a long term. We will do it. We have some targets, but it's not something easy just to say. Meanwhile, we continue to pay the dividends because just to hold cash, I prefer that the shareholders will enjoy it, or from buyback that we do, or from paying a dividend. But no doubt that we are looking very, very carefully to do another acquisitions along the years, and I hope that we will do it soon, but you need to decide for marriage.
Yeah, and lastly, I probably should have led with this. I'd be remiss not to mention. I know the people of Israel are going through a challenging time. Has the conflict had any impact on your business? How are your workers handling this? How are you handling it?
First of all, those are not happy personal days in Israel. No doubt, Israel suffered a lot of loss. It's a small country. Everybody know everybody. But I want to put this aside for this discussion because in the end, I'm here as the CEO of Ituran. And Ituran didn't hurt a lot. We have to understand one of the things that Ituran enjoy, if I can say, is that even in the bad times, car theft rate become high, violence become high. Those are the times that our solution or the requirement for our solution become more stronger. We get more subscribers, more needs. So we haven't been hurt by the situation. Personally, we have heart, we have feelings, it's different.
Yeah, well, our best wishes are with you and with the Ituran family. And I really thank you for this opportunity to hear more about your story. I really enjoyed it. Do you have any last parting thoughts before we go?
No, I just want to say something which I think investors not always pay attention for.
Okay.
Ituran always grow our profits and profitability. Ituran, on the other hand, pay dividends. Usually, a company that has some growth, usually they need the money. So, or they have a leverage balance sheet, or they don't pay dividends. We have both. I think that this is something which is very unique in Ituran. Growth in one hand, dividend in the second hand, and this is important for me to mention. And the rest, I'm okay with this.
Well, I'm rooting for you, and good luck as your expansion continues. And I can't wait to revisit and hear about some of the things that you couldn't share with the listeners today as you continue to grow. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you very much.